Did you? Is Angela coming? Okay.
Who's joining us?
I believe Angela.
Oh, Angela, sorry.
It says waiting to join.
She hasn't logged in yet.
Yes.
Got it.
All right.
And there is a chance she will not be joining us. Okay. She'll pop up.
Automatically?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It'll log on its own, but I don't foresee her joining us.
All right, let's get this March 20th Economic Development Commission meeting started. It's 8:03. Take roll. Kevin Campbell, President, is here. Mr. McGuire.
Here.
Amy Streeter.
Here.
Jenny Fowler.
Here.
Mayor Eargang. Here. Brad Marcy.
Here.
Angela is hopefully joining us remotely. And Sarah Lamping. Here.
Here.
Approval of the February minutes.
I will make a motion to approve the February minutes.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
I've provided you 2 copies of the minutes up there to sign. And
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
EDC budget review and 2026 budget. Brad, you're up.
Hello. All right, so for the month of February, we just had our normal expenses, bond reserve payments. We paid out one $5,000 big interior grant, or not interior, a big grant, and then the $18,553 for the Marion feasibility study.
On the big grant, do we, those are leftover ones from 2025, right, Sarah?
Correct. That that last payment was for the 2025 program.
So does that end us for 2025?
Yes, that was the last one that we received. And we have until the end of this month to receive the 2026 applications.
And so I didn't realize, we're just making payments into that Marion feasibility study, or do they just send us invoices? Just out of curiosity.
The initial invoice was for $75,000 for phase 1. And so they are billing us in increments.
In increments, okay.
Yes.
So it should be
4, yeah, okay.
And
It's monthly at that
Yeah.
quarterly rate, basically.
We have the next 2 already for time they'll be paid. The next 2 will show up in the March one just because when they came.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and we have those already.
Just curious. The rest of this looks pretty straightforward.
Sarah, how many big projects do we have in so far?
I've received 2 applications. In addition to that, I've had conversations with at least 3 or 4 additional applicants.
Okay.
Any new ones, or are they all repeats?
The first 2 that I've received are new ones.
Awesome. Okay.
I just, as a comment, this program was very successful in getting people to invest in improvements of our, at least that's how I see it. I don't know how you guys see it, but over the years that we've been doing this, they've invested a lot of money in their exterior improvements. This has been a good program for Batesville.
I would have to agree because of the types of programs that have been put forth and funded. They've really had an impact on the curb appeal of many of the businesses located in our downtown and outside of our downtown. People take a lot of pride in their business, so they look to maintain it the best they can. And I know that they are very grateful for this opportunity.
Yeah, even if it's just goodwill, we've encouraged them to spend a lot more money than what we've invested, significant money that they might not have spent otherwise.
Correct, because we've had this program going since 2018.
Yeah, I know. I know.
I would agree, Jenny.
Maybe as we carry over thinking about next year, this has been a really successful program.
All right, thanks, Brad. Part of that, I guess, Genesis, we got a request for Genesis to sponsor them again this year.
Yes, I'd like to introduce Lori Rennekamp, and she's going to be approaching the podium. We provided a sponsorship last year for Emerge, which was graciously received and utilized effectively. So she's returned this year to give us a little update on last year and the success of the program. So I'll turn it over to Lori and not take any of her thunder. There you go.
Morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here this morning. This is working, right? Okay. Thank you for having me. I would argue that Emerge is probably my largest and most impactful program that I run through Genesis as the entrepreneurial program coordinator. The program, just to give you a really quick background, was an idea that came from Jason Walkie, teacher at Oldenburg Academy. He approached Genesis, said, I have this great idea. I'd love to give our high school students a real world business conference experience. Started the first year at Ivy Tech. Last year, it grew significantly and moved to the Lawrenceburg Event Center. So talk about really giving students a real world experience. And this year, it's almost like this program has taken off on a life of its own. This year, the program will once again be at the Event Center, and we've got the governor and Secretary of Commerce wrapping a visit to the region around the Emerge Summit. The EDCs have been amazing support and with supporting the program. And not only that, we actually had a panel discussion at Emerge last year that Sarah actually participated in, all the local EDCs, and it was so well received by the students. And I was told repeatedly that it was so much better than the panel discussion the first year, which I don't know who said on that. But so today we are asking if you would be willing to support us in any capacity this year, we would be appreciative. And if you have any questions, you can let me know, contact me. You have a sponsorship form in front of you. Tiers, I believe you did $1,500 last year, but as I said, any amount is appreciated.
Can I ask, Lori, what the money goes toward? Does it just go to putting on the event and that budget? Do you put some kind of back for future years? How does that work?
Well, of course, we have, and this is all newer to me, so I have to tell you, I've only been at Genesis since June of last year, so I'm learning this world of nonprofits, and everything we do is grant and sponsor supported. But we have an Emerge account. Because we're so new, our nonprofit status began at the beginning of last year. We are still working on building up any accounts. So everything that comes to us this year for our programs, we're basically starting fresh. So it will go to cover keynote speaker. We have breakout session speakers. We have the Lawrenceburg Event Center expense. But we could certainly too, if you have a specific, if you would like for us to use it in a specific capacity, we can do that as well.
I just, I know we haven't gone over the strategic plan yet, but did note that priority number 2 is encourage new entrepreneurs, innovation, and small-scale development. So,
Yeah, I have to admit, so I was involved last year. Probably a lot of people here were. Also, ISBDC had a booth, and then we also have a speaker. Looks like same speaker this year. That said, it was a really good conference. I was really impressed by the whole professionalism of it. I mean, and lunch was really good.
Good.
So,
And
just saying.
well, make sure we make lunch really good.
Yeah, it does. It does drive me a little bit at this time of my life. That said, I feel like I just paged through the book.
And that, I'm sorry to interrupt, Jenny, that is last year's that I,
Oh, okay.
but we are working on plans for this.
Okay. I would encourage us, because it's number 2 on our list, right? I would encourage us to participate. It was a great conference. I can't say enough good things, and I will say that I don't know. Okay, all in the Southeast region, I don't know of another conference like this. I don't know. Maybe they have something in the rest of the state, but I don't know it, and so it sets us apart as a region.
And I'm just putting it on the record that I recuse myself from this discussion due to a conflict of interest.
What a cop-out.
I know.
And if you will look at,
But what would you say about the conference?
The conference has been well-received and has grown astronomically to the point of where schools from Indianapolis are actually making telephone calls to see how they can get their kids down here to participate. I think the fact that in year 3, the governor has put it on his calendar to come and attend, I think speaks volumes.
Yeah, I agree. See, that was awesome.
and if you'll look, we are
Yourself from that.
on page 19 as a Changemaker sponsor. We were the only Changemaker sponsor last year, so.
We are, well, last year we had over 130 students. Our goal is 200 this year. We had 9 area high schools participate last year. We're hopefully at 11 this year and counting.
Awesome.
well, to speed things along, I guess I would make a motion that we sponsor at the enterprise leader level.
I would second that.
I had a question, Lori,
Yes.
about, it says here that there's an option to have like a booth space to network with students. Can you just go over that? And did economic developments have any booths last year?
They did. So part of the day is we have an expo area set up. And I don't know if you've ever been in the Lawrenceburg Event Center, but they have a really pretty atrium area. And we tried to get as many of the support organizations as we could last year from all of the counties. So students have time in the morning between breakout sessions and at lunch. And I was very impressed last year. They can mingle with the booths, make connections, learn what each organization does. And yes, we had several of the local EDCs there last year. And I've been told by many people who either set up booths or volunteered, spoke, that students took the initiative to reach out to them and connect on LinkedIn afterwards, which love to hear, because that's part of what we're doing, trying to form those connections.
Yeah, there were a good number of state agencies there that had booths. I thought all my old people that I don't work at ISBDC anymore, but they're in other state agencies. So, yeah.
Genesis, I was impressed coming in. Genesis has a lot of statewide connections.
Yeah. So just out of curiosity, did Start It Up say that they would be there? Have a booth?
Yes, well, they were there last year, and I'm
Yeah.
sure they will be there this year because Don Wedrick, the
Yeah.
founder of Started Up, is a big Genesis supporter.
Yeah.
The reason I ask is, and maybe I'm making a very presumptive comment here, but I'm going to assume we probably won't have a booth there.
couldn't really answer that. I don't know why we.
I will be there with a booth, but, you know, if you guys, if no one else can be there and you want me to man that booth too, we could share a booth, or
Well, I guess what I was
If you want
thinking
to
is there, and I'm sorry, forgot her name already, but, is there an organization that can't quite give enough to get a booth set up that might want to, that we can say, hey, look, this group has technically donated enough for a booth space. Hey, here, have ours.
You could do that for sure. I will say that we won't turn anyone away from a booth. We will make it happen no matter what. But if that, or we can,
well, you have a place for grassroots donor that you don't have to have a booth, right?
But
And we could,
I guess that's what I'm saying, somebody that doesn't quite, it might not be in my budget to donate that, but hey, I'd really like to come set a booth up there. Let's not take whatever size the booth would have been set aside for us and leave it empty, as opposed
Yeah.
to somebody being there that might be able to help somebody,
yes, I am wide open to.
is my only thought. I mean, and if you can get enough donations to use all of them and then ours, great, go, I mean, by all means, that would be better, but
That'd be great.
yeah.
I'm sorry, Kevin, I think you made a motion
Yes.
to, and I'm sorry, was it the change maker level?
For the 2,000.
Enterprise.
and then-
Enterprise.
For a
And the
$2,000
mayor
donation.
seconded it.
And who seconded it?
The
I did.
mayor did.
So, any other discussion? I'm very much in favor of that. Having a first and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Hearing none. Amy abstains.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I will just make one comment off the record. I don't know, obviously, with the new Arts and Innovation Hub happening, I don't know if, since they're kind of a nonprofit of sorts, I don't know if they donate to things. But if they would be willing to donate a certain amount, I could see us maybe going up, and both of us, since it's in Batesville, being the title sponsor, being able to have a full-page ad with that. I don't know, it's just me speaking off the cuff, but that would be kind of neat.
Amazing. I can't make it today. One of my Genesis colleagues will be there, but Genesis does sit on the Arts and Innovation Hub.
They have a name for the committee.
I know, and I can't remember. So we are involved there, so I can definitely start that conversation. Yes. Well, thank you on behalf of Genesis.
Thank you.
I can be in touch with, as our plans unfold, I can be in touch with you on how we can move forward. Thank you.
Are you looking at November again?
Yes, it's
Okay.
scheduled for Wednesday, November the 4th.
Okay.
Anyone is invited to be there. We will have more information coming out soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Main Street request.
Good morning. It's not necessarily a request, more of a let's open a conversation request than anything. We some things came up this week that really got us thinking about some things that we had been thinking back in the past. The meeting was coming up. I'm like, at least get it out there. So when you guys started your strategic planning, you had asked for some grant ideas, that type of thing. So we went back to the businesses and the things that they had asked us, and we gave you those grant type of opportunities. First question I had was from Kevin, who said, what happened to the rent incentive? At the time, my answer to that is it didn't really fit, as in we don't have occupancy. Everything is pretty much full. It doesn't really fit into a grant type of situation. Businesses come and go odd times of years, buildings open odd times of years. So it's not something you can say this grant is open in January, you expend your money by December. So we started thinking, what could that look like? We started thinking, could it be something like the city's revolving loan fund, where there's a set of money put aside that when a business wants to go in, a business that we want downtown, being like retail, restaurant, specialty shop, entertainment, all the things that were asked for with the downtown vision plan, the community asked for those top things in their downtown. But have that bucket of money available when a small business is wanting to jump into that. They don't really have the high rent that is happening in our downtown right now, to give that incentive, whether that's a ramp up incentive or whatever that may be. Just something that we can say, hey, we want this and we need to make this happen. Other communities around us are doing different incentives to get the businesses that they want. Unfortunately, it could lead to us losing them to those communities. Right now, when a business opens or a building opens, a business jumps in, it's a service business because they already have a clientele. They already have a customer base. They're a beauty salon and somebody wants to spin off and do their own, or an investment person who's been working out of their home already has their client base, or a dance studio that wants to expand and need a bigger space, that type of thing. So a small business that's a startup doesn't have a chance. So we wanted to kind of start that conversation and see if that's something that EDC would be interested in doing, and creating a fund that is revolving, and it's not a you have to start here and you have to end here. It could be when a business comes in, there's a building, they're struggling, they can't make that connection, the rent is too high, they can come and request that funds to make that happen. So just kind of wanted to create that conversation and start that conversation. We had some calls this week that really kind of put it in forefront in my mind. With the meeting coming up, I'm like, I just need to say something. I just need to start that conversation. So that's not necessarily a request. It's just a let's think about this, and kind of wanted to have your feedback on what you feel. We don't know what your strategic so I don't know if that fits into what you guys had planned. I just wanted to put it out there.
So I'm going to add on to what she says, because I encouraged Amy to come. And part of that was because of client work that I was doing, and I work with other communities. And specifically, Brookfield, this is not a secret, by the way, so I'm not saying anything out of turn. Brookfield is running a program where they have their request for proposal for specific businesses they want in their downtown. They're going to help them. They have five of these rental assistance programs that they can offer, 5 different buildings. And we had a client who wanted to be in Batesville, but she really was challenged. The rent, there's not very many spaces available, and the rent was really high for a startup. And so she is still considering other options. She's considering Batesville, but she seriously, I mean, how could you turn down free rent for a year somewhere, So I do think that if we talk about this, there are structured parameters that we could put around a program like that. Like, it could just be for startups. It could just be for a limited amount of time. It could be for a percentage. It could be a lot of things that would discourage random businesses, existing businesses or whatever, from trying to take advantage of that, because admittedly, once it's out there, everyone will come out of the woodwork. But that said, people want to be in Batesville. It's just, this has happened more than once. It's a tough rental environment, not to mention the fact that we need buildings.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
To be my typical contrarian, if we subsidize rent, doesn't that only encourage?
I think
Go
the
ahead.
way that program works is that it's on a step-down basis.
Yeah, it is.
So I think it's like you get 100% the first month or something. I forget what the timeline is, but it's a step down.
I understand, but Mike, isn't that only enabling the landlords to continue to keep their?
Yeah, but I think that I think that if you talked to Brookville, that they would say that it's been a success, that it has helped start some additional businesses. They also had a different problem in Brookville that we don't have. Brookville had empty storefronts.
Correct. Yeah.
And that is one of the reasons that they offered it, was to get businesses on their main street.
Yeah.
It has spurred investment into Main Street by people buying the real estate, turning and rehabbing it, and now it's a more structural.
Structurally sound.
Yes, I mean, because some of those buildings are early 1900s.
Late,
Buildings
yeah.
needed some work, and this has spurred some investment into that. And that part of it, I think, has been uber successful. Now, I don't know if the businesses have all taken off. Some of them probably have, some of them maybe not so much, but.
Well,
and I
there's
think the
only been one
reality-
so far that's used it. There's only been one, and she's pretty successful for a first-year person. I mean, okay, so the hardest thing for businesses, right, when they're trying to get started, and specifically restaurant, retail, and entertainment businesses, okay? We're not talking about service or any of that stuff. But all of those are the businesses that we want to make a walkable community that people want to, if you're going to shop, you want to have an experience, right? If you're going to shop. Those are the businesses that it seems like communities want to have. The problem with that is up front, all of your costs are cost heavy up front. The buildings are in a state of disrepair, and the building owners don't seem to want to help with that. So it goes
But I
back to
still
the
think we
business.
have the problem of we don't have the occupancy. So Brookville was different in that they didn't have the businesses downtown. They actually had a lot
Saying-
of open
You're
storefronts.
saying we don't have,
there's-
we don't have the
So
physical
maybe,
space.
maybe our program would focus on something else.
Right. And I think right now, like I said, the occupancy is very high, but the occupancy is very high in the service industry. Not that that's a bad thing. It's just that it's gotten to the point now that it's pushing retail out because they can't jump into a building when it opens up at a $1,500, $2,000 rent for a very small space. Somebody who's already established can do that. A small startup cannot. So it discourages them. They go somewhere else. So having something in place where they can come and say, hey, this is my business plan. This is what I want to do. It's something that the city wants. It would have to be vetted as far as you don't want a financial person coming to you and saying, hey, I want a rent incentive to move into this office. It has to be something that you want. And that's, I would hope, the same thing that the community has asked for in the downtown vision plan, which is retail, restaurant, entertainment, especially.
Yeah,
Gives you that ability to pick and choose that.
admittedly, that Brookville has a difference in that they didn't have buildings available. The thing that is the same is that the reason that people weren't in those buildings was because they were so dilapidated that no one could go in there. Now, the other thing was they wanted to get their arms around who they wanted. So as the buildings are being rehabbed, they wanted to control a little bit who they got downtown, which is what you're saying. Because they knew that service, nonprofits, all that stuff would move in there immediately because they're already there in a great capacity, and they can pay the rent. That's the thing. So they wanted to get there more than just filling up the buildings. It was they wanted to get their arms around controlling a little bit anyway who was in there.
And how did Brookville deal? Was there any political or other repercussions of existing businesses that have been here for years? And it's like, what? You're subsidizing Joe Schmo restaurant to come in and compete with me and blah, blah, blah? I mean, I get it, a rising tide, right? But I just see some.
I
Ill
haven't
will,
heard that as
perhaps.
much in Brookville, but I did hear that in Lawrenceburg.
I think that's one of those things that we're always going to have. I just don't think there's any way around it. But kind of to your point, I guess it's incumbent upon us to say, if there's another business here, that's more people here, more people on the streets. I mean, just since the Sherman opened, I've noticed a much greater number of cars on the street, to the point that I'm already getting, where is everybody going to park? But I mean, you can certainly already see an increased number of people here.
But I would say
that's a great problem, John.
I agree. I think it's an ideal problem to have.
And I think in talking to different businesses downtown, I can tell you that most of the retail businesses would tell you we need more, because it hurts them. If they don't care, bring the competition.
I think it.
That because it draws more people.
And I was going to say, just Kevin, again, in response to your question or your comment, is that was not the only program that the city and the county was running in Brookville. They also had several other programs going on at the same time that was rehabbing businesses, facades from a different perspective. So they were spreading their wealth.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think it's something, it's incumbent upon us to have this discussion and figure out the best possible way that we could possibly provide this.
I agree, and I don't think we're going to solve this today,
Correct.
obviously.
Yeah.
But one thing to think about, and again, I'm an idea guy, they're not all good. But do we have a different problem because we've got the wrong mix downtown? Do we need to have a program that actually encourages financial folks to move out of downtown, right? Instead of, and open up storefronts so that they could become available for the types of businesses that we want. So for example, and I'm definitely not suggesting we do this necessarily, but hey, should our industrial park become an office park? And we work with a developer to incent them to put a 50,000 square foot building that can be subdivided into 5,000 square foot whatever, and then we start kind of transitioning, help folks that are downtown now maybe transition to someplace with newer office facilities and stuff, then help rehab the building, then, so I just think there are different ways of looking at the issue if we.
Yeah, and I think there are ways to look at that with zoning as well. It's not gonna be popular, because we already have people saying, well, you can't tell this business they can't be here, or you can't tell a landlord. Well, you can.
You're right.
I mean, that's what we do. That's what zoning laws are.
So can I talk to that as well, though? So the idea that you have, I think, is a really good one, and I've talked with other communities about that very idea. I think it's a really good idea, and I think that we should possibly be engaged in that. But I will say, Batesville has potentially an opportunity to do that downtown with the new purchaser of the training center.
We do, and also, we don't want to go to such an extreme that we isolate office spaces here and retail spaces here. We need an appropriate mix. Now, I would be in favor of saying, if you're an office space, you're a second floor space. But
Another really good
just something
idea,
to
too, that I've
consider.
worked with other communities on. But that said, just to finish that thought, it is not, I agree with him on the mix. Having services businesses downtown actually do help you a little bit, because as a service, they bring people downtown that continually come back, right? It's a consumable. Whatever that service is continues to come back, and it brings people downtown, walks them past your other stuff, right? Entertainment is also another way to do that, and that is one thing that I think Batesville lacks a little bit downtown, is entertainment options. That said, having those consumable things, having a good mix of that stuff is important, right? I'm not targeting these people, but in other communities, there tends to become a lot of it, though, when they have too many salons right downtown, or too many attorneys right downtown, or too many accountants right downtown. They have money to pay the rent, and they tend to kind of start to take over, and then that's when, you don't have a good mix, nobody's walking around downtown, and they're all relegated to the outskirts then. So anyway, that was just comments on those things that I've experienced in other places and that I kind of have seen over the 12 years that I've been doing it. But that said, I didn't, I'm not on the side of doing it or not doing it, but I am on the side of us talking about it. And I do think that we could structure it in a way that it would target exactly what we want in conjunction with the ordinance idea.
Okay, I'm assuming,
Thank you.
thank you. I'm assuming Angela's not joining us. What do we need to do with the strategic plan at this point?
At this point in time, I've provided you with a final copy of what appears to be the final copy of the strategic plan based upon the last meeting that we had as a group. Kevin McGuire, Angela, myself, and the mayor went through it, looking at the priorities that were identified, defining them a little bit more clearly, wordsmithing them to state our objectives, our visions, and our goals. At this point in time, Kevin, do you want to comment on our next steps for the strategic plan?
Yeah, and I just kind of want to echo what Sarah said. I think a lot of it was wordsmithing. I think a lot of it was, making sure that we got the words right to, just politically, socially, all that kind of good stuff, right? That it said what we intended it to say. So not a lot of substantive changes. I think all the goals are the same. The priorities are the same. I don't know, I don't think there's any reason that it necessarily, I'm assuming, did anybody get this before it was sent out yesterday? The revisions?
No, I did not.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, but
Yeah, I just got a copy of it, I think, on Monday.
Okay. So I guess I would say that I don't think there's any reason that we necessarily need to vote to enact it today. I don't necessarily want to prolong the process, but I would encourage, I guess, everybody to kind of read it over. Let's give it a one final once over, and, let's approve it at our next meeting.
Yeah.
I was going to say, that's good, as long as we have an action plan for next meeting saying we're enacting this or we aren't.
Yeah, and then I think we need to get it out there, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
think it needs to go to Amy so that she can see it and make sure as she's looking at programs and stuff that they align with the objectives.
Well, and I think redevelopment and city council and, right, yeah.
Do we need to have another meeting with this group before our next meeting to discuss this and go over any changes or whatever else that we need to get done?
I would say not unless we have some big problems, right?
Yeah, why don't we communicate via email with
Yeah.
it? And obviously, if we need to have that, I'm open to it. And if we need to vote before next meeting, I would argue, can we do an electronic vote or no?
I don't know if it really needs.
Yeah, it's only a month, so.
I think voting on it the next meeting, it's appropriate.
Good. I think,
In mind that at our next meeting, if there is extended conversation about the strategic plan, that will also be when you're reviewing the Batesville Improvement Grant applicants as well. So it'll be
Might be a longer meeting.
it might be a longer meeting,
yeah,
Be here with us, right?
correct?
you could come back.
Try to hold your enthusiasm a little.
Yeah, I was going to
please.
say.
It's still hurtful.
Just telling you what you need to get done.
I don't think, we kind of have used the intent of it, maybe not the letter of the law, but we have already had this in our minds when we, especially last meeting, when we did some, I guess, grant opportunities or whatever, we gave out some money. I think, relative to there's not much in here that it was different than what we talked about, really, so I don't anticipate.
I think I think some of the,
Yeah.
I think some of the things that were kind of smoothed out is there were some assumptions made that we changed to investigate the process versus the process is.
Yeah.
As far as like permitting processes and things like that, we kind of just smoothed it out a little bit and don't appear to be quite the expert on all these other portions of the city that we don't manage or we don't participate in.
And I think there was a theme too that was, that I had brought up that was, I think she put elsewhere, and to be honest with you, I've not read the final version yet either. But there was a theme where it was, I don't think we need to be doing everything.
Correct.
Right? We're a
Correct.
volunteer group that
Right.
needs to meet once, or that meets once a month, but we have the funding. So I think a lot of it was, facilitate, I didn't want fund in there, right? Because I
Yeah.
don't want somebody to come up and say, hey, your
Yeah.
thing says you're going to fund this. And it's like, no. Facilitate, encourage,
Yes.
words like that so that it's, funding, it's not all tied to funding, particularly not knowing what our future funding is going to be.
Well, I also think that was the intent, was that we wanted to get this out to all the organizations in Batesville so they kind of knew what our priorities were, and then they could come along also, that we could all work collaboratively on these priorities. I actually think that this is the best strategic plan we've had since I've been here. It shows more clearly the things that we want to focus on, and I also think that it's a thing that other organizations in the city could get behind.
Okay. Thanks, Jenny. Angela's not here for the marketing, economic development report, or do you have something?
Well, on the marketing piece, that will be now initiated once the EDC strategic plan is adopted, so that the marketing for 2026 can be more focused on our objectives and our priorities versus throwing information out there and hoping it sticks.
Good point.
Economic development report.
I do have that included there. I've been spending a lot of time with the redevelopment commission on the property at Lammers Pike, getting notice out for intent to sell. On the 30th, we're going to be reviewing any bids or offers made on the property following state statute. If no offer, we do not have to accept any of the offers that are received. However, we will have to wait for 30 days to begin negotiating with anyone that would be interested in purchasing the property. One thing that we are continuing to discuss internally is the sewer capacity issue for that property, the cost associated with that, and the responsibility of who it falls to. So it's been taking up a lot of my time with conversations on.
I think to that point, the sewer capacity issue, we recognize we don't have capacity in the existing line that's out there to service that area. We've already engaged an engineer to look at the most cost-effective way to address that issue. Brad and I talked yesterday. It's in my mind, it's our responsibility, and I think we have the means to take care of that. At this point, we're just waiting for engineering. Initially there was a thought of putting a new line in and going through some of that open area, in the behind the Batesville building. I will say, I don't want to bring names into it, but by Snork Walsman's house. I've heard a little bit from the engineer and from the wastewater, and because of the issues getting underneath 46 and getting underneath gas lines and so forth in that area, the engineer's kind of working from the idea now that just to upsize the existing line where it is. It happens to run down the center of a road, but there's already access underneath, and there's a connection point, I believe, on the south side of 46. So we're right there right now with that. I would need to honestly, I would need to follow up with.
And then I'm assuming,
I would say it wouldn't be till next year, and it would be sometime next year if we started, during the construction
I'm
season.
assuming we're going to upgrade that line to the extent that if that whole other side of Lammers Pike was developed at some point.
Yeah, we would want to do that. Obviously,
I mean, if somebody bought it and one commercial building went on there, then we're over improving the sewer line. But if that turned into a residential.
But we already recognize.
We need to be prepared for that.
We already recognize there is some residential there that kind of on the corner, kind of behind the existing Marks Crossing. There's going to be additional residential there. I think those plans are probably going to come in pretty soon. We know there's going to be more residential in that area as well as industrial, and if we can divert, maybe even additional stuff into that, it may help us. So, but anyway.
So are there
Thank you for sharing that. That was information I was unaware of. I appreciate that.
Are there bid package logistical requirements? So in other words, do you have a list of what needs to be in the bid packets?
Yeah, there's an offer sheet.
Oh, okay. So how do we go about getting that?
If you're a prospect that's interested in purchasing the property, you would contact me.
Okay.
And as of yesterday, I had a prospect in my office, and we were discussing it further
Okay.
and shared with him the offer sheet.
And actually, we did a posting that.
Yeah. By state law, we are required notice of public
Yeah.
sale. That was posted.
Yeah, I see that. I have a client.
Yeah. Yeah. So please refer them to me, and I will get them the offer sheet. They have until March 30th.
Yeah.
At 1 p.m. And continuing with the Marion feasibility study, hoping for that to come to a conclusion at the end so that some decisions can be made on proceeding forward with phase 2 or deciding on what our next steps will be with that. That's been a very interesting and engaging process. So excited to see the final on that. Let me see. Yeah, working with just some of the local businesses on different opportunities that they've been faced with and some of the challenges that they're experiencing as a result of expanding business. So it's been a busy week while still trying to par down some of the responsibilities as I plan to depart.
So what would you leave us with? What comments would you leave us with?
Wow, kind of put me on the spot there. I would say that the last 12 years, I've seen economic development change dramatically. When I started, we were chasing smokestacks. The idea of a shell building was cutting edge. Now we're chasing people, workforce. AI is really changing the landscape. I think we've done an exceptional job of improving our community assets through quality of life initiatives. I've been blessed to be on the inside to see some of those projects come to fruition. I think we have a very bright future ahead of us. I think one of the challenges that we faced in the beginning, we still continue to face, and that's collaboration and communication. A lot of our missteps or some of our missed opportunities have been because of a lack of communication, because of a lack of collaboration. And I think once we get that nut figured out, we'll be better and stronger than we've ever been. I've seen our industry change dramatically. We came in, and when I came in as this position, Hillenbrand Industries was a leader. And as we all know, that's changed quite a bit. I think it's in our best interest to continue growing with a diverse industry in mind, not putting all of our eggs in one basket. I think we're the perfect setup for a larger industry, but yet one that does not consume all of the workforce. I think we have the opportunity to annex. We're kind of running out of space, which is a good thing. And I know that we've got some housing projects that are in the works that are going to be bringing more people to the community. I look forward to seeing the south side of our city grow. And it's been everything I've learned from an economic development standpoint has been baptism by fire. Batesville always likes to find a good idea and tweak it a little bit to make it our own. And we're really good at that. And I've really enjoyed my time here. So thank you.
Thank you. By the way, it's been good working with you over the last 12 years.
Likewise.
That's what I was going to say. Thank you. It's been a pleasure, and you're leaving us in a very good spot. So thank you for your leadership.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Anything else? Not much public today.
Yeah, I wanted to just, I wanted to just say one thing. We left the discussion for the rental stuff on the table. We didn't make any kind of decisions about it. I would like us to continue this conversation on how that would be structured or something like that. Either we say we're not doing anything in this front, or we say, yeah, we do want to do something. So I guess over the next month, I'd like us to think about that and how can we maybe work with Main Street in order to construct something, or we just say, no, we're not interested in doing it. And either way, it doesn't matter to me. I just don't want to just leave it up in the air. I would like to either get to an action item or not, or say we're not doing that. So
Well, I think what I would like to see personally is a proposal, right? What is the program? What are we wanting to do? And so I would ask, how do we get to that point?
Yeah.
Right? And so I don't know if Main Street takes a lead on that and comes up with some examples with tweaks, as Sarah suggested, or if we need to be actively involved, or maybe you, since you've got kind of your finger on the pulse of things, work with Main Street. I mean, I don't.
what do you think about that, Amy?
I would be fine coming up with ideas and proposals, and Jenny, I
And
would very much welcome your help.
Sure.
yeah, and to be fair, I think several of the different Main Street boards have already been talking about it. I know I've been in some of their meetings where it's come up as a topic, so I would continue to engage with them on what we make this look like.
What's the status of the rehab of the Ward building? Because that's going to be a space that's going to be available, right?
Right,
Yeah.
that space is actually, we're hoping we're going to open that August 1st. Our intent with that is building an incubator space, and I am working with Jenny a little bit on that to try to figure out how we're going to structure that with a lower rent, also some education and making sure they have their business plans and their education that they need to eventually boot them into a brick and mortar, so they're on their own. So it will be a incubator, probably no more than 24 months that you'll be in there. We're hoping to foster that and move them out.
So at this point in time, you don't have a long list of businesses and entities to go into that space,
We're just now
which,
Although admittedly, Amy, so we discussed this yesterday. At first, I was a little hesitant about the program. I wasn't sure if I would, thought that people would go in it, the Ward school, the Ward incubator. I wasn't sure if I would have people to be able to test that. But in the last couple months, I've had 3 that I would
I
have
think it's a good
encouraged to go
idea.
there.
That's
Yeah.
not where I was
So-
going with that at all.
You never know what happens on timing, but that said, I felt better about it.
And I think the construction process is going to begin in earnest, so to speak, May 1st?
PDF is offered to move out so we can get in there and just knock a bunch of the stuff out right away. So that's why we're pushing for that August 1st open date. So they've offered to move out, they can move my office space if they need office space or anything. So we're gonna ramp up really hard May 1st.
Okay. Take a motion, sorry.
Just one thing that I'd like to add, as I've worked with various boards and commissions and nonprofit groups, I'd personally like to ask you to look at the community and individuals that you're surrounded by that would be good candidates for future commissions and boards. We do have a younger generation moving into our community, and we're only as strong as our boards and commissions. So if you have the opportunity to mentor or nurture someone that you work with that would be a good candidate for a board or commission that wants to give back to their community, begin doing that. Get the younger generation involved, have them participate more in community action. Again, that's our future. So getting their insights, I'd like to ask that you take a look at who you're surrounded by and get them more involved in the community. It'd be great. Parting notes.
I would second that. And one thing Sarah didn't mention about accomplishments and so forth, she didn't mention that she has also dealt with the challenge, so to speak, of working with 3 different personalities. I mean, that's always a thing. I mean, you know, she started under Rick, okay, Mike. I'm sorry.
Jean Lambert was the sub-mayor there for a while.
Okay, and then myself, and we are clearly 3 different individuals. So, just navigating through that is an accomplishment. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, I was going to hold back my glowing comments for the party. Maybe I should put them in the public meeting notes.
You can repeat them at the party. There will be a different audience.
Okay, so for all you public, Sarah and I have been through a long 12 years of working together, right? Through many things, marketing coalition, all those collaboration issues, all the ideas that EDC has, all the, the different things have, to the mayor's comment, things have changed as far as what the motivating direction has been, a good amount, actually. So yeah, and here's what here's what your superpower is. Okay, this is, and I say this all the time to her. Her superpower is taking something that is really hard to accept and communicating in a way that is direct, so everyone understands, and everybody seems to accept it. It's like, if I said it, they would clunk me on the head and say, we don't want to see you ever again. But when Sarah says it, it's like, oh, okay, the emperor has no clothes, yeah. Right? And that is her superpower.
Thank you. I don't think my kids would agree with that, but
We should put that in the public minutes. Her superpower.
okay.
Can I say too, from this discussion about that we're having, first started out with Genesis, which is a pipeline discussion, and which I've been harping on for years, right? About pipeline generation, and we're going to the Ward School, that's another pipeline piece, and to migrating people into actual storefronts, that's a next part of the pipeline. So as I'm really encouraged by this, because managing the pipeline of entrepreneurs is, I believe, our number one priority priority, or number one thing that we need to focus on, and it is in our strategic plan. I was very cognizant of that when we were doing our strategic plan. In Batesville, you have the infrastructure to be able to do that now. The more people are working on early pipeline development, and these conversations that we have all, in my mind, string together as far as how you get someone from an idea into actually a place running a business. And I am one of the people who works on that, but for small businesses, for Batesville, the city of Batesville has always been one that grows up organically. It has not been a awesome city for, recruitment of ginormous businesses for a lot of reasons. But growing organic businesses within the community has been their success, your success. Consequently, managing the pipeline of people through that is really, really important. And all these things that we've been talking about are that. So if you look at it as a continuum, that's how I look at it. It's a continuum of people getting into the small business process. A lot of them are young and growing up in that. And how can we give them a hand at every stage, right? And help them. I believe that's our goal. So to end on that, thank you for allowing me to say that.
Need a motion to adjourn?
I will make a motion to adjourn.
And
I'll second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
We're out.
You didn't ask for the opposed.